And we're working. Work, 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 work. All right, welcome back. Hope you're having a good day. On this Ficus, either Green Island or Microcarpa Cascade. Just get a look at the Cascade part and then the other side there. But first, we're going to travel back to where I worked at January 2nd. And there it is from the front for a minute there. You can see it's got a pretty good scar there that needs some healing. But then there it is from the other side. I took most of the pictures with it going off that side, these original pictures. So those first few pictures are from 2019. Unfortunately, that was a time that I was just kind of doing a lot of pot changing for no reason. I probably should have left it in that original tan one. It should probably still be in there now, and then it'd be ready for really, it would be that much further developed, I think, if I would have just left it alone. But I changed it in that mesh basket there for a little bit. In June of 2020, I bought this pot. It's a hippie dad bonsai pot. And anyway, talk about the pot here for a second. It's just got some, it's got like some purple and gold kind of flecks. Not really purple, it's just kind of like gold and dark color. Kind of brownish, I guess. And then there was this accident part here. Still a solid pot. It was just a spot here. I mean, I'm not a potter, I don't know. I guess that part just fell apart when he fired it. But I'd gotten this pot. I was kind of grooming it for that. I haven't done much to it since then. I have cut the, I'm going to say apex back. I've cut this part back a lot, trying to get the energy to kind of stay towards the Cascade. Cascade really is, I think, you know, at this particular point, I've got another Green Island like this, or Microcarpa like this. I've got that rain tree like that. I think that's all the Cascades I have right now. It is a little bit of a harder tree to keep, harder tree to train, just because of how it leans and everything. Actually, this here, I'm going to cut this right now. I was kind of wondering why. I mean, I don't really actively wonder things like this, but with all the wind we have around here all year and thunderstorms and everything, and this is like one of the only trees I've got that I haven't had to pick up repeatedly. I actually have this one sitting on a pallet, and the roots kind of come out there and they just flattened and circled around on the pallet there, and they had a hold of the pallet, and that was keeping it from falling over. I do actually have screen in there too. I usually don't put screen in my training pots like this, but I think I have a good amount of decent substrate in there, so I put the screen in to keep that from coming through. Usually in a pot like this, I'd still have it either in pure potting soil or just a little bit of a mix. Well, prune, defoliate, wire, and just kind of assess if I want to go ahead and this spring or not, or just kind of leave it in here for a little bit longer. Because I'm going to cut down a little more. I cut it down just down to the Cascade part. Better look at what I'm doing here. I'm going to go ahead and start pruning since I've got, I'm looking at this part right here. There's an aerial root there that kind of comes back around. I do like to leave things like that. Some people like to take them off. I'm going to leave it. I find it interesting. But there's a branch kind of coming from underneath of it. It does seem to just have the straight growth with no taper, so I'm going to guess that at one point I never really made the conscious decision to leave that on. I'm thinking it sprouted just this year, and just because I've been trying to leave it alone for a while, I didn't really notice it or think about how bad of a place it was in. But that's got to go. And then I have taken a hard look at it. Some of this, not this one, this is just right off the trunk there. There's a solid branch coming off here that I almost lost, and I wanted to kind of leave it there in case I wanted that to become the apex or something. And I have decided that I don't want that to be the apex, so I'm going to take that off. I think it'll leave me a little more open to think about what it is I want to do with this bigger branch here. I think I'd like to leave that as the apex, although that has some really weak growth there. Maybe if I pull a couple of these leaves off, you guys might be able to see that a little bit better. I was going to do all the unwanted growth first and then come back and do this, but doing this now just so you guys can see what it is I'm talking about here. I haven't even, all this little bit of work you know I've been doing, I haven't even touched this yet. And you can see it's got a branch coming with a bud off of it there, or a stipule or whatever, and then this one too. This one's the only one that really has a good leaf coming off of it. I'm actually going to go ahead. It looks as if this whole part died back just a little bit. And yeah, there's no green there. But I don't want to cut into any of this live stuff here. And then this branch had the two pieces coming off of it. One of them looks really weak. The other one looks like it might make a leaf. Maybe with all this other stuff that I pruned, that'll send some energy into that. And that is what I intend to make the apex. And then, I mean, I say apex and keep all this stuff pruned down for the cascade part. And then also, just speaking of unwanted growth, that is coming, that one there is coming from underneath of it. Just want to get in there, let's pull that off. And ordinarily I just use my ficus pruners for those. I call them my ficus pruners, they're just dirty. But I just happen to have this still in my hand from when I cut off that branch. Alright, and then the rest of it, I may take off another branch or two. Alright, so this would be coming out of the very end. I would like to keep strong growth there, just to try to heal that scar up as good as possible. A little bit of a nub on that scar there. Cut that guy off. Just so that I have plenty to wire, or plenty of room for movement and thought about what direction it is I'm taking everything. I'm trying to take off as little of a length as possible, but I am trying to get every growing tip. That's kind of actually why I'm defoliating at first, but I also want to get, like you have, when you have out here on these growing tips, you have the little bit of green still. I find that if I've actually tried pinching like right there before and just leaving it like that, considering that being like, oh, I cut the pruning tip and that'll cause some back budding, that actually, for the most part, just makes it to where the tree doesn't even skip a beat. It just starts growing out of a slightly different direction. Like if I did that, if I had left this on right there where that leaf is, it would just keep going. Quite honestly, I don't even think I'd really even notice it. Just one day all of a sudden I'd notice that I had new leaves coming off and it was just kind of coming out that same way. I have tried that several times. I may still do it when a tree is ready for that, but this one I'd like to get some actual back budding on these branches, especially once I decide what I'm keeping. But almost. And like I said, I am gonna leaving that. That and this will be the only growing tips. You guys might be able to see it a little bit better now, maybe get along with my method of thought here. It's a fairly thick branch. If I was to just chop it, I'd have another big scar to heal up. This, alright, and so the wire's on there. Couple things. I mean, I wired this branch to this one all the way down there. Wired these two together. Decided that since not only was this one kind of poking right up, but it also made the little threesome there, which is one of the things you're supposed to avoid. Decided to take that out. And then once I kind of saw what I was going to do up here, I realized that this one would just be sticking straight up there too. And then this one, you know, I don't want it growing towards that one. So I'm going to take it down and then this way as much as possible, but then try to get at least one good dramatic bend back in it and back down. That's the one I had that one wired to, already going plenty down. Like I said, I think this one is the one I had a guy wire going off of, a little straight. So we'll get, again, some extra movement in that. And then this guy here, definitely don't want it to be going up in any kind of design other than coming down with the Cascade. This one, perfectly straight. Definitely got to bring it down quite a bit. This one's a little bit too short for me to get 2 turns in, but at least down. I just want to get a look at the roots. I might scrape off the top just a little bit just to give me a good idea of what it is I'm going to look at whenever I go to repot. But I'm going to try to not disturb much else. And again, I'm really just kind of doing this all in all to get an idea of what I'm looking at when I go to repot. So the screens are down there. Kind of doing their job. I think I put one. Now that it's got itself a root ball, I don't really see much sense in it. And of course, right after I say I'm going to disturb the roots as little as possible, here I go disturbing the roots. Well, one thing to keep in mind is, wintertime or not, I still am in Florida. We got one cold night coming up here in a couple nights. And that's, looks like it's going to be 50 degrees for one night. And then 60s again. Again, I just did that because it's got a good solid established root ball now. I can set it back down in there and I don't have to worry about cutting the screen off just in case when I go to break off the rest of the soil, I don't have to worry about breaking that out first. And then, I said I did want to scrape off the top just a little. Alright, so gives me a little bit of a better idea. I was able to get kind of this little piece of an arrow root that kind of came out there. I was able to straighten that out just a bit. And maybe I might put it in that nicer pot here shortly. It's not in terrible shape, but with a cascade like that, even in that pot, you won't really be able to see the nabari all that well anyway. This side, you can still see where it was cut there. But we'll see for now. Still winter. I don't really want to do it now. I have the utmost confidence that I could wouldn't hurt a thing. But it's just not very good practice to do it this time of year. Of course now, after roughing it up like that, sometimes that's part of the problem of putting it back into the same size pot every time after looking at them like that. Alright, and now here we are, back to present time here. This is the first video I've ever done on. I mean, I took that first part in January 2nd, but I've never had this. Some of this crazy ficus stuff where it just kind of grows like 6-7 shoots from one spot. But up here, I'm gonna, try to use this as to just keep some kind of a tight apex. But if you notice, I think I actually was intending, I mean, I didn't even go back and watch that old video, but I was intending to kind of use where it has a main branch going off there. There's even a growing tip up there and everything. And then it just kind of sprouted this little young thing right there. And that is where most of the growth is. There's like actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least like sub branches just kind of going crazy right there. So I am going to go ahead and just take that off in the hopes that it'll just feed a little more energy towards the Cascade. I think I cleaned up all the branches I really want to clean up, and I did hit that wound there with the Dremel just a little bit, carved it in there.